So this is my new tapering sled. I call it the Taper Maker. This is another collaborative project between me and my buddy Andy Klein, and I want to show you all the details, how it works, and then tell you how you can get all the information to build one. The sled has one runner on there, and you don't have to put that on there if you don't want to, but drops right into the miter slot, and then you can make tapers all day long. Now, this fence here, you just loosen it up, and you can move it all the way across the sled. You can get whatever angle you need to get, and it's, got its limitations, but it's probably going to cover most of the angles you would need to cut with a tapering sled. Once you have the angle you want, you just kind of turn these knobs, lock them down. That's nice and secure. There's a little catch here at the bottom. This stop is where the workpiece will lock into. That keeps it from coming back at you. And basically, you just put your workpiece under the hold downs. You can loosen it pretty quickly like this. Make sure you got a couple of stops in place, holding it safely. Tighten it up. And I usually use this down position to go quickly with my finger like that. Once I'm pretty close, then I can fine tune the adjustment. You keep going until you find something that holds the workpiece nice and secure. That's a little bit too tight. Now we got it. Right, so in that position, we would be safe to make this cut, although I would certainly want to be back up against my stop. Right, but you can see, even though it is a threaded bolt in here, it's actually pretty quick to adjust where you need it to go. So for the first cut, let's just do a simple taper on a small workpiece here. We're just going to cut a nice angle. Now, because this is zero clearance, you see the blade is right up against the sled. You can pretty much mark your line for your taper on your workpiece, and then just kind of line up the front and line up the back, and you know that taper is going to be exactly where you need it to be. Now I'm only going to get 2 hold downs engaged on this one. All right, that looks pretty good. Now let's try something a little bit higher. What I found is about 2.5 inches is the maximum capacity that I can get on this thing. So we'll use this little leg blank here. Now in this case, I think I'm only going to be able to get one of these hold downs in contact. But in reality, that's kind of all you need most times is one holding it down, and then as long as you have this stop in place back here, that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for keeping this thing nice and safe. Okay, fence looks good. Let's tighten that up. Now this one's going to skew the yoke here. It's going to go down a lot further on this side than it is over here, but that's what you got to do to get the pressure. All right, that's not moving, so I think we're good. All right, well, I guess I just found the limit on the height here. Obviously, you can't quite get to 2.5 on my saw. Your saw may be different, but that's the range at least. So let's make a second cut on this leg. Pretend this actually is a tapered leg. We'll see what that second cut looks like. And there you can see tapers on 2 sides, and it's just a excessively tapered leg now. Let's try something a little bit longer. Now this piece I measured at 35 inches. I think you probably could get away with 36 inches, but that really is starting to push it. And that also may depend on your table saw, right? So this little piece of scrap, 35 inches, what I'm going to do is, instead of just doing a taper, I want to show you the other feature of this jig, and that is using it as a straight line rip or a jointing jig. Right? So if we need to put a straight edge on here and we don't have a jointer, this is a tool that can help you do that. Right, so let's get this guy positioned. So all you got to do is drop it in place. Get your hold downs close to where they need to be. Now I'm going to move my fence just so that the edge gets cleaned up, right? So I'm going to have it overhang my sled base by a little bit. Lock down the fence. All right, so it looks like I missed a little bit at the front here, but you get the idea. This is nice and straight. Use the right blade and you actually have a fairly smooth jointed surface that you can now use for reference on the fence, right? If you need to make a nice parallel cut. So it's kind of like a nice bonus feature. Now, even though we are selling plans and a hardware kit for this, I'm going to take it apart and show you how it goes together in case you just want to take a crack at it or build something similar. All right, so let's take the handle off. Now the handle just has a barrel nut in there, that's what goes onto the bolt, and most of the components of the sled are actually a layup of 1/2-inch Baltic birch plywood and then some solid stock that's milled to the right thickness to allow the hardware to pass through. And so the yoke just has a couple of holes in it, but the same kind of sandwich. These hold downs, there's a little, basically it comes to a point in there, and that gap is enough to allow these things to kind of pivot a little bit here and there. And of course, I've added these are optional. That's just some rubberized cork that gives you a little bit better of a grip. On each post, we've got a couple of washers and a spring. And I will tell you, it took a little bit of time and experimentation to come up with the right type of spring that would work in this application, not be too loose or too tight. On the ends, we just have two nice little heavy-duty knobs there, a couple of bolts. These are just shop-made spacers. If you want to make the base out of 3/4-inch stock, you can. You can forego using the spacers, all right? But the bolts are long enough to handle a 3/4-inch base if that's what you want. The fence comes up like this. You can see the fence has a couple of slots in there for the bolts. We've got a couple of these posts that help guide that yoke and keep it straight away. A nice piece of hardwood on the back as our stop. And then the center of it all is this big bolt here that goes up through the center. Now the underside of the sled, there's quite a bit going on here. We've got some slots that go all the way through, but then also a 1/4-inch deep slot that's a little bit wider to allow things like the bolt heads to slide, and also allow that bolt head to be deep enough so it doesn't protrude from the bottom of the sled. And same thing for these side slots. That's just for a smaller bolt. Right? And of course there's a runner here. So you don't have to install that runner though, but it's a nice feature if you want it. Now, if you think you might want to build one of these, head over to twwstore.com. We've got plans as well as a video plan. It's a nice long video that goes through every step of the build process. It'll help you understand it because you can do a lot of modifications to this thing. You could change it to suit your needs. And when you see it go together in video, it really helps to kind of set the groundwork for you making whatever modification you might need or just building it as is. We also have, as part of this, a nice hardware kit. And check out this fancy schmancy thing. The kit comes with a paper pattern, which is what we use to make all the various shapes. And then of course it has all the critical pieces of hardware you're gonna need to put this thing together. So once again, everything is at twwstore.com. And look, there are a lot of tapering jigs on the market, and this is one of them. Thanks for watching.